Nevada mountains to the beaches of Orange County, California. From the Pacific perspective to the Atlantic perspective. From liberal craziness to conservative idealism. From Christianity to atheism belief systems. Welcome to the Gray Zone Roundtable with Rectify and Miss Angela Black at Revolution Radio. FreedomSlips.com.
Freedom does slip from my lips. This is Rectify.
And I'm Angela Black.
And this is the Gray Zone here at Revolution Radio at FreedomSlips.com. You are listening to the world's #1 talk radio network that is 100% listener supported. And none of us get paid. None of us. All that money goes to pay for infrastructure. It is the people's station, most definitely. And we appreciate you listening, and we appreciate talking. So as long as we get the bills paid, we're going to keep this going. We've been around about 4 years, and we plan on being around about 4 more as long as the earth lets up, you know, and mankind fixes its ways. But, yeah, freedomslips.com. Please check us out. Check out our chat room. Click on our donate button, site support button. There are gifts in return for generous donations, useful gifts. I'll leave it at that. Check it out, freedomslips.com. And we will be with you the next 2 hours. This is a roundtable, which means you can bring your thoughts to the table. Anything you want to say or talk about, any topic you want to bring up. I will give out the number later. We're not going to take calls until the bottom of the hour, so you got about 25 minutes to wait. But it's going to be worth the wait because we have a lot to talk about. But how you doing today, Angela?
I'm fine. Sorry, I was muted. I think I'm going to plug in my headphones because I'm hearing my Skype, you know, the little beep thing. So I'm going to plug in the headphones right now, which should take just about 1 second.
Well, happy for what it's worth. I mean, so far it's not looking too happy for the Middle East, i.e. Syria right now, as many have seen, I'm sure, on every mainstream media outlet. Obama and his administration is given the go-ahead to go ahead and start dropping taxpayer American-made bombs on Syria. Of course, in the guise of battling a non-uniformed militant group called ISIS or ISIL or Al-Qaeda or whatever they're calling it these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, today is, it is the September 23rd, 2014. It is the autumn equinox. So
it is.
That kind of makes it ritualistic in my eyes that this would be going down right at the equinox. They like doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's, everything has to, I don't think anything's unplanned, let's put it that way, you know. Yeah, you want me to read a little bit of this, what's going on? In case you guys don't know, apparently we are now at war with the Islamic State in Syria. U.S. begins airstrikes against the Islamic State. And I believe there are 5 other Arab nations also working with the United States, if I'm not mistaken. 5 Arab countries to participate in the Syria operation are basically, hold on a second. My husband's trying to talk to me from behind. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and just, thank you, babe. I'm trying to, focus at the same time.
Thanks,
so
Bill.
Anyway, Rectify says thank you. Okay, let me tell you what those 5 countries are, the 5 Arab countries. Jordan, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Bahrain.
These are all allies with the U.S. in this bombing campaign?
Yes, that is apparently the situation. And we're looking at 2 U.S. defense officials that identified the partner nations. As I mentioned, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, UAE, Bahrain, and the other one that isn't mentioned here is Qatar. One official described them as full participants in the airstrikes in Syria, but did not give further details, saying that it was up to those countries to fully disclose their roles. Qatar, maybe that's not an Arab country, or is it? It's an Arab area? I don't know. Qatar also sent military aircraft to play a supporting role, but did not carry out strikes, a third U.S. defense official said. So I think it is a country, actually. I apologize for my naivete.
That part of the world's always changing anyways.
But anyway, so yeah, we are bombing that place pretty heavily, and as a matter of fact, 6 different ISIS command and control centers are being completely destroyed by a rain of bombs and missiles, right now. And I mean, we're talking right now, or a few hours ago is basically when it started. Explosions are being seen, and now video is being recorded all over Syria and northern Iraq. Or Iraq, I should say.
All eyes on Putin and what he's going to do now. It's kind of a scary situation as far as my concern is, because we don't know what Putin's going to do about this. This is a big deal.
Yeah, what would Putin do? Yeah, exactly. Let's see. So they're planning on attacking
Putin right now, deciding to push that red button.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting play in the next few days. Who knows what's going on in those behind-the-scenes phone calls and correspondence between nations, leaders, etc. It'll be very interesting to see, what happens on the other side of this.
There's a UN meeting also tomorrow in New York, a general.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's another correlation.
Okay, there we go. So, yes, it is a city. I mean, it is a country, Qatar. Oh, and it's pronounced Qatar, is it? Qatar?
I think it's
Qatar, Qatar.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyway. So there, like I said, we have President Obama and other U.S. leaders had all but promised in recent days that they would order airstrikes against Islamic State strongholds in Syria. The jihadist movement, which the CIA estimates has up to 31,000 fighters at its disposal, controls much of eastern Syria and has used its bases there as a springboard for seizing territory in neighboring Iraq. So, but in ordering the attacks, Obama also thrust the U.S. military directly into Syria's devastating civil war, something that he had steadfastly tried to avoid since the country began breaking apart in 2011. So here we are getting into the middle of another civil war. It's just bad for business. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen next. More comments, Rectify? I apologize for just kind of jumping in there.
Stock market will probably go down tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. We should ask the Crow.
Yeah, he's probably sleeping. He's got to be up at the butt crack for that actual thing. He's got to make
some
it
people
in.
call that the break of dawn, but sure, why not?
That's the West Coast way.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so anyway, we are going to be opening up the phone lines in about 15 minutes. We kind of just wanted to get the thing rolling today and set a pace, let you guys know what we're kind of talking about. We're, obviously the Syria thing just came up, and it's very important that we discuss this. And then I know, Rectify, you had a few different topics in mind, and then I had a couple as well. We've got this big fire happening west of Tahoe, and it is huge, and it's just been blanketing everywhere with smoke. So I was thinking about getting into that a little bit. And then I also found a very interesting article about male birth control, which is completely off of every other topic we're talking about.
You mean I can get it in the mail?
No, you can get it in a needle for a guy. Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. But so I'm all over the board with it, but I thought I'd throw a few topics out there and just see what sticks. But obviously this is of utmost importance, the Syria thing.
Right, and right there on the equinox, along with did you hear about the Georgia Guidestones there's been an addition.
No, really? I didn't
the last few days, somebody's gone over there, and you know how there's 10, I believe it's 10 slabs, each one's got 2 languages on it. What's of the New World Order 10 Commandments? On the one that hosts the English and Spanish language, some individual or individuals took a cube. It's actually a granite cube. And within the cube, on the face of the cube, on 2 faces of the cube, one face is 20, and the other face is 14. So it says 2014, and they wedged this cube between the capstone and the English-Spanish slab.
Wow.
Yeah, in the last couple of days. So that's also interesting. What's 2014 going to bring?
So now, who updated it? Who updated them?
Who brought the ladder down there, right?
And why isn't this thing on 24/7 camera?
It is. That's the crazy thing. I did some research on it. And the thing is actually built on public land. It's in the city of Alberton in Georgia, in the country of the United States of America Corporation. It's public property, actually, which makes even less sense to me. I scratch my head more. R.C. Christian, the supposed guy that put the thing up, I know that's an alias, but I'd love to interview him one day.
Okay, and what's his name?
R.C. Christian.
R.C. Christian.
Letters R and the letter C. Yeah, Christian.
Uh-huh.
That's as far as we know who paid for this feature to be erected.
So if it's on 24-hour camera, do we get to see that? I mean...
You know, I've had a friend that's gotten into a fatal accident in a city intersection where they have those federal cameras put up on every signal light, right? They did that a few years ago in the middle of the night. I've watched them put them up, and now they're everywhere. Well, even the local sheriff's department cannot get a hold of that footage for the investigation on this fatal accident.
Really?
If that tells you anything.
Bizarre. Huh.
They probably, even though it's public property, it's probably in the books some sort of federal land grab, national park or something, or UN owned, saying it's public. You know how the color of law rolls.
Yeah. Well, everything I'm checking on that, it's all a video, and obviously you can't really do that while we're on the air, but that's very interesting.
I mean, for God's sake, we couldn't even get real video from the Pentagon on 9/11.
Yeah. Exactly. But we should be able to see, so how big is the cube? Do we know?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Probably like 1 cubit by 1 cubit.
Okay. Georgia.
So as you look that up.
I was, but everything's a video and I don't have time.
Yeah, videos. I'm so over videos. Videos were so 5-6 years ago.
Unless it's of cute kitty cats and dolphins playing with kitty cats or lions playing with I was going to say horses, but I meant to say puppies and that type of thing. I mean, those I can't get enough of those. And I'm sorry, I really really like animal videos.
Hey, anything in the light as far as a video, that's always good. Good to get away from the doom.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good point. So. And what are we doing here? Oh, yeah, Doom.
First world problems. You thought of any this week?
Okay, well, I have to tell you something. And I was going to look this up, and I've been a little busy, but okay. So apparently there was a man in a speech, and I will figure out who that was. And I will get to that when we have a break. I will find out exactly who that is unless I have a chance to look this up. But okay, in the 1940s, there was a speech, and I was talking with a dear friend of mine who's very informed about many subjects on this planet and beyond, and he was telling me that there is no such thing as a first world. And and I always thought, oh yeah, there's no first world, and obviously there's no second world. But I've been kind of enjoying the idea of first world problems. More or less, it's a way to teach us to be grateful for what we have, and that's what I've been kind of focusing on. And I think we were somewhat joking about it, etc. Got a little serious last week, etc. Okay, I don't know how many times I can say etc. in one paragraph, but let me give it a try. So, so a guy did a speech, and I got to figure out who it was in the 1940s, and he was talking about basically you had your Western view politically and your Eastern view politically. In other words, you were capitalistic or you were communistic, and that was the two main, superpowers of sorts in that era. So you had, communism, capitalism, and all countries either sided, or most countries either sided with the Western point of view politically or with the Eastern communist point of view politically. And then what happened was that was two worlds of thought. And what happened was there was this man who gave the speech, and I will find out, said that there's also in existence a third world. And so the third world was actually all countries that did not affiliate with either said belief, either such belief. And so, and people took it. Now, these countries may or may not have been developmentally challenged at the time, because maybe they were less, it wasn't that they were less developed, because I don't know if all of them were, but as time went on, third world started to become more of a morphed in thing to talk about, these third world countries as being I believe they call them now emerging markets, where they used to be developing markets or underdeveloped markets, I think it was, UM, and now they are emerging markets, EM. So I wanted to clarify that there really is no such thing as a first world, and the third world really isn't supposed to be developing countries or, countries, that are, ground level moving up in their whatever we consider civilization, that type of thing. So it's very interesting, but nonetheless, Weird Al has a cool song, and in general, I do like to talk about, things I'm grateful for, which we can also consider to be first world problems, such as, for instance, when you and I were talking before the show last week, and we never really got to any of these because we just had a round table, which is normal, and we're looking forward to, that happening right after.
Speaking of, we had a caller, 530. If you'll wait about 10 more minutes, we'll get you in here, so call back.
Yeah, everybody, we're just going to kind of get the show rolling and see how that goes, and then basically open it up, and it's, it's a free-for-all at that point. So I thought we were talking, you and I, about going to the grocery store, and we were talking about that there were too many choices, and we immediately realized that was a first world problem of sorts, or quote unquote first world problems. But really, all I know is that it's just funny to watch us complain about that type of thing.
Stress, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you think about it, and it's just so funny. Oh, God, I've got too much to choose from. It's just so convenient. It's all in one roof. I don't know what to do. Really, we are still living in, basically, a fool's, heaven, if you will, a fool's haven of just choice and option and, abundance, exactly what you said. So I think I'm done with my rant, if you wanted to continue on.
That's why we love our captors so much. We're totally in Stockholm Syndrome here in America because we have everything we materially want. And that's the difference between what we call first world and third world, in my eyes, is the values. See, third world, we see it as like, oh my God, how sloppy and dirty and this and that. But it's because they value things differently than we do. As far as material really doesn't matter to them. They probably just see a hunk of plastic when they look at an iPhone, a lot of these places, right? They don't see any value in it. I mean, really, come on.
And the waste involved, I don't think that goes on as much in emerging markets, as they're called.
Emerging markets for the IMF, yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly. But I mean, that's what they're referred to, I guess, in the financial world, anyway. Basically looking at an underdeveloped country or whatever that is. But we have things like plastic bags or paper bags and all these things. These people have learned to bring their own bags to the grocery store. And I know California is kind of becoming that. Nevada, it's still a free-for-all up here.
Why do we throw away our Ziploc bags?
I don't. I use them 3 or 4 times before I throw them away, or at least twice. I use them at least twice. And do you?
Yeah, totally. It's plastic.
Yeah. Wait, you throw them away or you?
No, I reuse them.
Yeah, why not? That's what they're there for.
Right. I got a conundrum as far as first world problems versus third world.
Okay.
Maybe you can help me figure this one out. Okay, here in America, in the first world, there's a lot of men that can't find a wife. But you go to the third world, and there's a lot of men that are stuck in a marriage with a wife that was arranged.
Right. Well, that is interesting. Let's see. I don't know. I was just reading a Skype. I apologize.
Trying to find the gray zone in that.
Yeah, I saw that though.
I guess it's better to have at least faked love than to have lost or never have faked love at all.
I mean, marriage is really, for the most part, it's a partnership, regardless of if there's love involved or if it's a money arranged, marriage or whatever. If it works or if it doesn't, it's a partnership, it's a relationship, and it's a mini corporation of sorts. I mean, it is 2 people working together to make the household work, and both bring home the bacon and both make the house go, round and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, marriage these days, it's very interesting for me to watch people, tying the knot. I trip out on it at this point. in the game. I mean, I think it's great, but wow, people who spend like lots of money on weddings and stuff, and then, possibly that, marriage may be failed, etc. That part I don't get. If you want to get married, but spending like $100,000 on your wedding, I mean, believe me, I could find better things to spend $100,000.
Here's a fun fact of the day. About 50% of all marriages fail in divorce within the first 6 months.
Within the first 6 months?
Yes.
Wow.
And all that wasted money. I've seen a lot of my rich, girl friends that have gotten married, and their, business owning fathers dishing out like $20,000 for a wedding.
Yeah.
It's outrageous. It's like, wow. And getting married through the state, it really is a corporate bond. I mean, all you're doing, you're giving up rights. You're not getting any new rights when you do that, when you go through the state to get married. It should just be a religious thing, if you really mean it.
Yeah, but they need to fit it into the census count somehow.
Well, a lot of women out there, too, are very money hungry, so, they don't want anything to do. It sounds like prenuptial.
Yeah. For me, I would never have it any other way. I think, don't get me wrong. I might want to have the option to reevaluate after 10 years. If I put in a lot of time. But in general, here's something that we were talking about as well, and it's a game show idea. And, there's two of them. It's like, what I get when we get divorced, or,
That's another first world problem.
Yeah, that one, and the other one is, unfortunately, people battling over, a deceased person's estate, family. It turns people into these weird, like, ogre, icky people. What I get when you die,
Sick, yeah.
These are terrible game show ideas, but nonetheless, they exist in our world.
I'll make you feel better. I had an invention called the coffin cam. After
the coffin can?
Dies, you can have it installed inside their coffin, and you can sell membership fees to anybody that wants to view the video live. So yeah, don't feel bad.
Oh, coffin cam.
Yeah.
I thought you said can, and at first I thought you said coffee can, and I'm like, what? So okay, coffin cam.
Yeah.
That's a very heat resistant cam then, or what? You're saying in the coffin? I'm thinking in the crematory.
It runs off a solar panel up top.
With a little, like, itty-bitty, like, what do you call those things, periscope? How's it going to get the sun?
Log in. It's a website. You go and look at, you log in. And you pay for a membership.
It's kind of dark.
It's morbid. It's for the morbid, group. We are a late-night show for most of the world.
Wow.
A lot of vampires and werewolves out there listening.
The coffin cam, the coffin cam. If you can't do it, I don't know.
Decomposition can.
Ew. Okay. Wow.
You were talking about something morbid, and it sounded like you didn't feel too good about what you were talking about, so I was trying to regulate and try to utilize it a little.
You're the regulating rectifier. There you go. Regulating rectifier. Try and say that 3 times fast. You're the regulator. Okay. So yeah, we're at war, and it sucks, and I don't know what's coming next, and what will Putin do, and what's going to happen next.
Keep your eyes open and your heads up. I mean, false flags most likely are going to occur, if not just allowed terrorist activity to happen. Just keep your eyes open. If you see something, say something.
Yeah.
Just be good to your neighbors. Take care of them.
That's exactly true. I mean, I've been saying that for years now, and it's true. And I've been so proud to say that up here in Lake Tahoe, where there's a fire, and I do want to get to that, that I'm friends with all my neighbors. I mean, they stomach me just fine. And this is the first time in, because we're a married couple, we have our little moments, and we have drama every now and then. Not really. We're not angry with each other, but, stress happens, and I'm not a quiet person. My husband's not a quiet person. So, in general, I can't believe that all of our neighbors still like us, but they do. And we all help each other, and it's really cool. So, anyway. I know we have a caller, so I can get to the fire thing a little later. I just wanted to talk about the King Fire and how terrible the smoke is and how horrible this huge, like 90,000 acre fire is. It's like 130 square miles or something ridiculous like that. So, I'll get to that with some more details. But we have a caller? Yes?
Yeah, Mr. Travesty.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Yeah, we were just waiting a little bit to take calls at the bottom of the hour and start from there. That's kind of, so we at least had some grip on the show. Welcome.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going well.
Doing the show, man.
That's good. The coffin cam. I think I have quite a few friends that may actually, they may not want to do it, but they may want to have the contract to have themselves cameraed when they die.
I knew there'd be some money in there.
Yeah, there'd be there's something to it. You know, you go to the goth community, and you're fine.
I couldn't do it though. My values and morals I wouldn't allow it. My karma would kick my ass.
Out the window by the merit that you're selling the service. So.
Hey, it's a free for all. It's an open grab. Anybody out there?
You're just the messenger.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I remember looking at the decomposition. Let me try it again. Decomposition of, I think it was a fox. And, who hasn't watched True Blood and seen that thing happen? And also you can see, sped up cameras and worms eating bodies and things like that. And I just don't know if I want to look at, grandma being eaten alive by, worms and stuff.
It'd probably bring up a lot of coffin, lawsuits. It's like, wait a minute, I spent extra money for this thing to last.
I mummified my grandma, yeah. She
Right.
wasn't, I mummified my grandma.com.
Oh, wow. Hey, it's open free minds here at the Gray Zone.
Yeah.
Speak it. If it's on your mind, speak it. 347-688-2902.
And then do we also have a 530 area code, Collie?
They were calling. They are invited to call back.
Oh, they're showing up as here on my screen. So
Weird. No, they're not here. But yeah,
Huh.
530, get back in here. We're opening the lines now. 347-688-2902.
that's actually in my area. That's the California side of Tahoe.
It'd be good to get a report from that fire.
Yeah.
It's moving towards San Francisco. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I know it's east of Sacramento, and I believe it's burning north right now. I'm not sure if it has any
Bearing.
if there's any threat toward San Francisco or anything like that. But the wind and the, all of a sudden we'll get this huge blanket of smoke all over Lake Tahoe. Reno's seeing it a lot. We're seeing it. Today, literally within 5 minutes, there was a blue sky, and then all of a sudden, this huge, just blanket of smoke enveloped the entire sky above Lake Tahoe. You couldn't see the lake unless you were literally right in front of it. You couldn't see the other side of the lake. You could barely see the trees. It was really crazy. And the weirdest thing is I watched two people, as I went to the store, I watched two people step outside into a very smoky, air-filled parking lot, smoking cigarettes. And I'm like, whoa, that is a heavy habit there, people. Because, could you imagine going into a smoky, air-filled blanket and then smoking cigarettes? That must be a heck of a craving. I don't know, I suppose if I was, bathing in vodka and drinking it, maybe. But, I don't understand smoking in a smoky, I don't know.
Smoking does not make any logical sense whatsoever, and I'm a smoker.
Oh, yeah? Would you smoke in a blanketed smoking...
Oh, yeah.
Really? See,
yeah.
that's just bizarre to me.
It doesn't
I've never
care.
smoked.
And by the way, I don't smoke. My cigarette smokes. I suck.
You're not like covertly working for those stupid truth.org people, are you? Because that sounds like a truth.org slogan.
Nope.
Those people are ridiculous. They act like you're going to turn into the Crypt Keeper in a week. If you start smoking, it's so stupid.
Oh yeah, where they're peeling their skin off and stuff, and then those ads.
Skin off. They're ripping their teeth out. They're running around with their grandmother with the hole in her neck. It's so like, dude, I know a lot of people who have been smoking for a hot minute. Nobody ever gets that bad Dude, I think you'll be okay cancering yourself a little bit. Besides which, it's not tobacco. It's what the cigarette companies are putting in your cigarette with the tobacco. Because guess what? I've never met a Native American with a hole in his neck, and those guys used to smoke that for peace.
It's like mass transit, like bus or subway company, like advertising with the commercial of a bunch of car accidents that just end up with chains of life and bloody and guts everywhere, and trying to promote, mass transit.
Yeah, precisely. Or just sitting there and letting the Department of Transportation of your state make you feel guilty about taking your travels into your own hands.
You're getting all Al Gore now, Steve. Carbon tax.
That's called by the way, we're going back. Is it called a tracheotomy? Is that what that thing is? Where you get the hole in your...
They usually put a tube in after, yeah.
Right.
A tracheotomy is an emergency procedure that's like a reversible thing. We're talking about where, like, you literally need that, like... It's like permanent, like, cause they have to remove a chunk of your throat because
your voice box is included.
Tracheostomy. That's what it's called. When they put the hole in the throat, it's a tracheostomy.
You gotta talk through burps.
Yeah, you know what I started trying to look up after you said it, Steve, was Native Americans with tracheostomies. I'm gonna find one for you.
Yeah. I'm gonna
this is terrible. This isn't funny.
I gotta change my stage name to be ironic and call, because I'm a singer. I'm gonna change my name to Tracheostomy.
Wow, you could be Tracheostomy Travesty.
Well, it would be as opposed to that, because the tra and the tra are kind of...
so Steve Tracheostomy.
Yeah, exactly.
Go for it, man. That's funny. Are you going to sing through the hole?
Scream through it, yeah. The blood starts gushing out,
Dude,
and it's not
I
like
would pay money to see that.
Stage blood.
I would pay money to see that. I would.
See, there you go. I found my niche. There was money in this business somewhere.
Yeah, there's not much of it. There's one. Another one that I heard of. I don't know why I just transitioned to this, but thinking about musical acts and odd ways to present themselves. Did you guys hear last year at South by Southwest that Lady Gaga did a song called, I think, Swine, and she had this, like, Japanese artist chick who basically drinks dye and then vomits, and so she drank, like, dye and then vomited on Lady Gaga while she was performing the song Swine at South by Southwest last year. And that's supposed to be art. I'm not sure.
No, Lady Gaga is trying too hard to be Madonna and Marilyn Manson at the same time.
With a little bit of Howard Stern thrown in.
With a little bit of Howard Stern, probably because she slept with him.
Probably.
How do you know that?
Because she's from New York.
Okay, because he's very married now.
You're not mysteriously that famous by accident. As I understand it, thus far, she was like one of Britney Spears' shadow writers for like her later albums.
She's a phenomenal artist, by the way, Lady Gaga. She really can write a good song, and she can deliver.
Maybe
I'll give her that. What's that?
Maybe the first album. I don't think she's doing.
Yeah, anything. But she's done songs for other people, and that's what I'm talking. She has had a few good songs, so that's all. I don't follow the girl or anything like that, but because it's the Illuminati, man. I was just dying to throw that in.
Hey, we've been joined by the host of my once favorite show that I guess no longer is going to be Changing Reality. What's up, Hijacker?
How's the gang doing? Is my audio okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're all right.
Yeah. No, you led off the program with the bombing in Syria, and I just wanted to weigh in. This really and truly does look like the beginning of quote unquote World War III.
Yeah.
On the floor, man, dumping on us.
Right. The Iranians. They said, we'll help you out, United States, with ISIS in Iraq. They said, no thanks. Syria says, well, if you're going to bomb inside our country, we'll work with you. We want to get rid of the terrorists too. The United States says no, thank you. And to put in perspective of how big this thing is, and it's really big. You're right. The great and mighty king of Mother Russia, Vladimir Putin, he's up right now. He's deciding what to do. But it would be like ISIS. I mean, it would be like Syria finding out in Detroit where there's a couple of ISIS terror cells. And then they would dispatch one of their jet fighters, fly into the United States, bomb that neighborhood, bomb that bunker, and then fly back and saying, we're all in this fighting terror together. Now, could you imagine Syria sending in a fighter jet to destroy ISIS cells inside the United States? That's how big it is. So it looks like to me what they're doing is, because we know where ISIS comes from, the Syrians, they were really killing them. They were rolling up on them, pinning them inside cities, doing bow constrictor type movements, and slowly with snipers and tanks just crushing them, not even letting them go. They changed their tactics from, basically trying to run them off to not letting them go and killing them right where they're at. Well, now when the Syrian army, gets these people in a death blow, and starts to close around them, the United States is going to go ahead and say, well, we got to bomb ISIS, and look what happened. You got within 4 or 5 blocks of where we were bombing, and we're sorry we ripped up all your lines with our bombs and our tomahawks, but this is bad. This is really, really bad. Does anybody else get that sense of foreboding?
I think what's really going on right now that is plain to see based on how I'm looking at it at the moment is that right now the Middle Eastern oil interests that we had been fighting for this whole time, such as Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and Qatar and all these other places, now it's at a point where we're doing some airstrike stuff, but at this point, these nations who we've been fighting on their behalf, now they have to get their hands dirty because of how little of our military is willing to participate in this slaughter of the innocent through the guise of this boogeyman. And so I don't necessarily know if this is going to lead to anything outside of the Middle East. It depends on how much this threatens the East. If this becomes a threat to the East's need of any resources that exist there or in contact with the West as the trade passage that these places are, then we might see a greater conflict. But right now, Putin's playing that three-dimensional chessboard, and I'm sure his intelligentsia has been looking at these contingencies as much as our intelligentsia has.
Well, just to give a counter, what Putin is planning on doing, he's saying, well, United States, you put together a coalition to go after ISIS. Russia and China and the BRIC nations, we want to put together a coalition of about 20 nations. We want to go into Syria and get ISIS. And so that's what he's putting together. But to give you the immensity of what's getting ready to happen, not only did Obama sign this $1 trillion budget, basically postpone the budget crisis, just, $1 trillion to hold us over to whenever, but he put funding in it for the Syrian rebel opposition, not ISIS, but the other ones that are against Syrian President Bashir Assad. And so now he's giving them money, he's giving them weapons, and now this is the scary part, is that they say that Bahrain, and in fact, Angela, you read off the 4 or 5 countries. Do you still have that article?
Yes. Yeah, I have the article, and I actually got this particular list from a friend. Yeah, I have the article right here.
Just read what they said about their militaries are now participating, but they won't say what they're doing. What I'm saying is that 5 nations have now got boots on the ground inside Syria. Those 5 nations, Saudi Arabia. Well, just read that little section if you can, Angela.
Sure, I've got it right here. 1 second, yeah. So it is, the 5 countries are Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Bahrain. And, so basically, we're looking at airstrikes, bombs, missiles, and they're all participating, with the U.S.
Well, no, quote what the article said. The article said the United States will not say what these other militaries and countries, how they're participating.
Let me see where I've got that right here. It's kind of a long article. Hold on 1 second. By listening, okay. So, so the United States has worked assiduously to build an international coalition against the Islamic State and has placed special emphasis on recruiting Muslim countries. Until Monday, those countries had been reluctant to join, at least publicly, fueling doubts about their willingness to attack an Arab neighbor. By enlisting these 5 Arab countries to participate in the Syria operation, the Obama administration could boast of a major diplomatic achievement. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and the UAE in particular have well-trained and well-equipped air forces, thanks largely to a long-standing military partnership with the Pentagon. And then President Obama and other U.S. leaders had all but promised in recent days that they would order airstrikes against the Islamic State strongholds in Syria. Basically, let's see, by ordering the attacks, I'm looking for the part where, that you're talking about, where, they were these 4 of them had, here we go. 2 U.S. defense officials identified the partner nations as Saudi Arabia, Jordan, UAE, and Bahrain. One official described them as full participants in the airstrikes in Syria, but did not give further details, saying it was up to those countries to fully disclose their roles. And then Qatar also sent military aircraft to play a supporting role, but did not carry out strikes, a 3rd U.S. defense official said. So,
okay, so here you go. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we know they got boots on the ground. They've been funding ISIS. They've been funding the Syrian opposition. They all got drones. They all got aircraft. They got missiles. I mean, this is like, talk about a psychotic war. Mm-hmm. You've got 3, 4. Let's see. You got the Kurd side. You got the Turks. They're doing stuff inside there. Of course, then you got us, and there's 5 Arab nations. You got ISIS. You got the Syrian opposition. You got Bashir Assad. My God.
Here's something that tears it all up. There's this person in the chat room, I'm not going to mention the name just because I wasn't asked to, says, notice how ISIS didn't attack the supposedly biggest enemy of Islam out there, Israel. Explain that, Hijacker.
Yeah, and then you got ISIS led by the Israeli Mossad agent. That is confirmed. Multiple sources on that, just not the Iranians. You've got ancient hatreds. You got one tribe hating the other tribe over the other side of the hill. You got the Sunnis, the Alawites, and the Shiites. You got Christians in there. Wow. You got Hezbollah. You got terrorist on terrorist. What a
everybody but the Bloods and the Crips, man.
Well, just let it ride for a few days. Rectify. I'm pretty sure they'll figure out a way to add that in.
You're gonna have MS-13 in there, and yeah.
Here's a couple of other paragraphs from that article. The United States was planning to attack as many as 20 Islamic State targets in the operation, which would mark the biggest single day of attacks since the military began striking the jihadist group in Iraq on August 8, according to a senior U.S. military official who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss details of the planned operation. So whoever this was said, don't use my name. Among the targets of, today's or yesterday's operation, this day, Monday's operations, were buildings occupied by Islamic State leaders, training sites, supply lines, and arsenals, according to the U.S. military official, who said drones were also involved in the attacks. And then I've read some of the other parts of this already. But yeah, basically you're looking at, a huge strike today. Huge, massive attack. So yeah, Hijacker, you're right, man. And you've been, calling this for quite a while. You're very informed. Listening to rattle off the names of all of the different, cultures that are living in that particular zone is very impressive. So, my hat's off to you for your knowledge on that, because, for me, I'm winging it, much more than that, obviously, and I'm not going to pretend that I know a whole heck of a lot about what's going on, but I know what war is, and I know you're on the money with the World War III comment. I mean, basically you've got every single group there ready to be, pissed off, and with anger on their agenda, and revenge, and and all of a sudden it becomes a huge bar fight, but a global one, where everybody's fighting everybody.
Yeah, I mean, and you got the Academy in there, which used to be Blackwater. You got Mercs. I mean, it's just unbelievable the combinations that's just like today. The 120,000 or 10,000 Kurds tried to flee ISIS into Turkey, and the Turks kept those from coming into the border. But then there was a whole bunch of Kurdish men that wanted to leave to go back to Kurdistan to basically shore up their army, and the Turks wouldn't let them leave. I mean, it's the car bombs, the drones, CIA, Mossad. You're going to have the Russians in there. I guess it comes down to whether Bashir Assad starts using his missile batteries. He's got missiles that can knock planes down. So I guess that's the next big thing, is when we hear the United States aircraft has been shot down by the Syrians. What is that going to mean?
What's interesting throughout so much of this is that we haven't heard anything from the Assad, the mainstream media and even alternative media hasn't been reporting on anything going on in the Assad government. Nobody's been talking about any darn things that they've been doing, how they've been feeling about anything, and they're officially still our enemy. Our Congress did the ridiculous thing last week of passing a resolution to fund the rebels in Syria. The rebels in Syria last year are the same people that we now know of as the ISIL. So, did we just witness them commit treason legally? Do you understand, how deranged and surreal that news sounds for people that have been paying attention to the fact that ISIL was basically who these people were a year ago, and how do they know the difference between allegedly good guy rebels versus rebels that became ISIL? Because that was the problem from Jump Street.
Well, it's the whole speed. I mean, take 2 months. 2 months ago, we never heard of ISIL. And then out of nowhere, they come out of the Syrian desert, take over a third of Iraq, get Abram tanks, jeeps, helicopters. They hook up with the 5 commanders that got let loose from Guantanamo. That Birdow, or whatever his name was, we made the trade for. They went to Guantanamo. Nobody can find those people now. Those are Islamic hardened battle commanders. So now they got a ready-made army. I mean, I think this is the beginning, folks. I really do. I think this is almost biblical. Go ahead.
Well, it's actually Sumerian, but that's a different story.
Well, on this equinox, September 23rd, 2014, we will take a break. The Great Zone. We'll be right back. Stick around.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And we'll be right back after this message.
Who owns you? If you're not in control, then someone else is. Join me, Ivy West, for Voices on the Wind, Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern in Studio A. I discuss government, health, metaphysics, suppressed science, universal mysteries, little-known incredible facts, alternative energies, and even more than you can imagine. Won't you join us on Revolution Radio Saturdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern for Voices on the Wind with me, Ivy West.
There are lives in the balance, people under fire, children at the cannons.
Because if your head's in the sand, your tail is a target.
Hi everybody, it's me, the Fetch, host of Inside the Eye Live. Before the Sunday mainstream media political pundit talk shows, there is Inside the Eye Live, where we break down some of the weekly mainstream media talking points before the talking points even get aired. Add in some entertaining stories, weather, cats, intriguing and informative guests, and you get one of the most listened to Saturday morning streaming media political talk shows going today. And it's all right here on our flagship station, Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. So join me, the Fetch, for Inside the Eye Live every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern. It is truly intelligent media for the politically aware.
I have worked with the CIA, NSA, Templars, and Bilderbergers. Now I work for you. My show will disclose secrets of science and esoteric knowledge. Join me, Stephen D. Kelly, for 2 hours every Thursday night at 10 o'clock Eastern Time on freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio, Studio A. You can also listen to previous shows by going to youtube.com/Free Revolution Radio.
Anti-aircraft guns went into action against unidentified aircraft in the Los Angeles area shortly after 3 a.m. Pacific Wartime this morning.
We are far stronger than we were 10 weeks ago.
General quarters, all hands man your battle stations.
Emergency control. I'll do the mastermind around here.
You who have not seen it do not know what hell looks like from the top.
Well, check it out every Tuesday and Saturday on Revolution Radio. It's a double dose of the internationally recognized renegade military historian Douglas Dietrich.
You'll stay right where you are until I tell you to move out.
Yeah, that's right. Tuesdays from 10 to midnight Eastern Time. Join Douglas Dietrich as he exposes the truth in hidden history on his show Critical Omissions. And then our human weapon of mass destruction is back once again to take your calls on Saturday Night Firing Lines. Both from 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Only on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome to the TheGrayZone Roundtable, Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. No corporate ties, corporate duct tape dictating our freedom of speech. It shall remain that way as long as we are supported by you. Join us, 347-688-2902. Enter the Gray Zone.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Gray Zone. I'm Angela Black, co-hosting this roundtable with Rectify, the one, the original, the only Rectify, here on Revolution Radio, the number one 100% listener-supported radio station on the net. We're just, the best of the best. It's because we're not paid for by corporate agenda. We're not paid for by political agenda. Basically, we are supported by you, the listener, and we are very proud to be able to offer free speech on this particular amazing Truth Network. That's how I got here. That's how I've stayed. A lot of us, we stick around. We're family here. And we have hung out in this through the trials and tribulations of being human in a truth network, and we're all still around. It's kind of cool. There's a lot of us from the beginning that are still here kicking, and a few of them are actually right here on this call today. Tonight, it's actually 3 a.m. on the East Coast, and it is midnight here on the west end of the United States. So basically, we're looking at hour 2 of the Gray Zone. We are joined by the one, the only Hijacker. We are also joined by Travesty, the one, the only also. I mean, I could sit here and just say the one, the only, but it's true. And then there is a 530 number. Do you guys see it? Is it on there?
Mm-mm.
I keep seeing it on mine. But anyway, somebody from the 530 area code had called earlier.
Angela's ears perked, so.
I know, I'm so excited because that's the eastern side of Tahoe, and it's California. And so I'd really like to hear an update from somebody a little closer to the fire. We are, I'll get to that in a minute.
She meant
I think
Western,
that's it.
all you nitpickers.
What's that?
I said she meant Western side.
I meant
nitpickers.
No, I didn't.
You said Eastern
side of Tahoe. The eastern. Oh yeah, western side of Tahoe. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Rectify. Hey, I love it when I get one wrong. It's always fun. Okay, so I just need to let you know that in order to keep us on the air, we would really appreciate it if you could hit the donate button or the site support button. Find yourself over at freedomslips.com, or if you can't remember that, which I can, it's been the name since the beginning of Revolution Radio. It's also easy to go to our website by going revolution-radio.com. And you'll find yourself with us. Join the chat. Get yourself acquainted with the folks around here. That's your favorite word, Rectify, folks. And so, anyway, we are talking about Syria, and that is it's heavy. I mean, we're bombing Syria, and we, meaning the United States, and 5 other Arab countries are involved in a collaborated attack against Syria and the ISIS, aka ISIL, different control centers, etc. There's just a lot of coordinated bombing going on. At least we hope it's. Well, I don't really want to hope it's coordinated, but there's a lot of rain coming down that are exploding on the ground. It's a lot of missiles. So we're in the middle of talking about that. And then, closer to the home front, I'm, near the King Fire in Lake Tahoe, and it's pretty big. I mean, we've had some really, really heavy smoky conditions up here. So wildfires, drought, basically other biblical,
Yeah, we just
things
need
on the
earthquake
table.
now here in Cali, right? Knock on wood.
There you go, rectify. And then you can get out your cam, your coffin cam.
There we go.
Yeah,
Bring in
everyone
the
should have
FEMA
one.
bags and the
Maybe
FEMA
if you're-
coffins.
Yeah, there you go. That's real sweet. It's just so bright and pretty.
FEMA's going to steal my idea, and they're going to put them in all those little FEMA coffins now. And they're going to make money on that, too, and they're going to tax you for it.
Now, do you guys know about the missing Afghan military officers caught trying to cross the border into Canada? I don't know if anybody knew that. There were missing Afghan military officers who were training in Massachusetts, and they're missing. There's 3 of them, and they disappeared while participating in this training program, and they've been detained while attempting to cross the border into Canada and have been transferred to U.S. custody by the Canada Border Services Agency, says U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
Why weren't they picked up while they were being trained if they knew about the training?
I think it's I think it's a designated training center for Afghan National Army people.
In the United States?
In Massachusetts.
Wow. We've gone a long way downhill, people.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up, which is also it's just very interesting. Here's the names of the men. Major Jan Mohammed Arash, Captain Mohammed Nazir Askarzada, and Captain Nurullah Aminyar were in the United States, to conduct joint military exercises at a base in Cape Cod. They went missing on Saturday during a trip to the Cape Cod Mall in Hyannis. Their disappearance marked the second time this month that a group of Afghan trainees had gone missing while participating in programs in the United States. In the latest incident, 3 members of the Afghanistan National Army were reported missing after taking a trip to a shopping mall, said CNN. And basically, it goes on, but so your local Massachusetts Cape Cod area training Afghan military officers for the Afghan National Army.
Let me tell you, what I think was a hint that was given away from how this was reported. I remember seeing some of this earlier this afternoon, and when they were showing the footage of the mall, the mall has a particular symbol for the mall, and I knew exactly what I was looking at, because anybody who's paying attention would know what it looks like. They have this blue 4-pointed star as their symbol going vertical and horizontal. It looks exactly like the symbol for NATO.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and here's a fun thing about NATO. NATO's logo, which you would have noticed at the NATO summit at the very least, they go NATO, and then they also, for some reason, they spell it backwards, OTAN, underneath that star. So NATO and then OTAN. Well, OTAN is a derivative of Odin, which gets back to that whole, Norse mythology association that came along with, the Nazis, or the National Socialist Party. I'm not sure how much is true for the National Socialist Party, but for the Nazis, which is the propaganda invented by the communists, for the National Socialist Party, there certainly was that present association. But that's not as important as the fact that I think that this may have a lot more to do with NATO, and that is what is going on here.
Well, we got 2 other big events that happened today. I don't have the capability to grab the links. Maybe Angela could, or somebody in chat. But supposedly there was a major oil refinery plant in eastern Ukraine, and they want to say that basically the Russians used a micro-nuke on it. It was a massive explosion and mushroom cloud. Now they want to blame the Russians, but I don't know why the Russians would blow up one of those plants, especially right there under their control of the separatists. And then the other big thing that happened is that ISIS used some kind of chlorine bomb weapon and killed 300 Iraqis. They used chemical or a biological weapon, a chlorine bomb, whatever that is.
Chlorine bomb, wow.
Right, in Iraq today, and 300 Iraqi soldiers were killed, wiped them out. So if you can find those couple of links, but that should be pretty much confirmed. But these are big movements on the board. When you're breaking out chemical weapons, micro nukes, taking out plants, I think we're starting to see something coming into being. Also the Prime Minister of Russia made a direct phone call to the President of the UN. And it sounded like it was kind of a tense call. Or maybe it was Putin that called the UN General Secretary Ban Ki-moon, maybe? Or is it somebody else switched up?
And where did you witness that, or where did you see that? Hear that?
Just check Russian Prime Minister or Russian President calls head of the UN.
Okay.
I would actually keep an eye on New York week, because right now the UN, I think, General Assembly is going on, and already today they've had a whole thing which looks kind of like a shadow of Occupy Wall Street, of people protesting climate change in Wall Street to gain the attention of the UN at the same time. Plus they've put this General Assembly in the news because Hermione, aka Emma Watson, from the Harry Potter movies, is talking about having the UN act on basically women's wage rights, I think, in effect, which that's basically a ploy to have the UN, which I suppose means the IMF, kind of come in and dictate the entire wage infrastructure of the country if things like that get set in motion.
Right. Well, what we know is, this is what we do know, Steve, is we're getting hit with multiple things on all kinds of levels. We're being overwhelmed. This bombing in Syria with cruise missiles, Tomahawks, 20 targets. Now, how could they find 20 targets of ISA? And then you got the chlorine attack, you got the UN phone call, you got the chemical plant or refinery plant being blown. All these countries, 20 different entities, all these different nations. It looks like, who said bar fight? Who said a global bar fight?
I did.
That's beautiful, Angela.
Thanks. Well, it seems like what it is. Yeah.
That's what you got going. It looks like it's a damn bar fight. Who knows who to hit? And everybody's got scores to even. And then I heard some other information. There's over 10,000 private militias in the Middle East. They say when a Palestinian kid or a Lebanese kid hits right about 13, 14 years old, he's expected to join one militia, one neighborhood gang, or another. And on top of that, they can hire out Palestinian and Lebanese kids for all the free cigarettes they can smoke, free hots a day, 3 meals a day, and $600. And those Lebanese, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, they'll go off to Syria and fight jihad. That cheap. I mean, endless jihadis, young Muslim males from 1.3 billion angry Muslims who've just gone through 4 or 5 years, decades. It's just nothing but hell. And they can hire them for like $600 a month and all the cigarettes they can smoke. Talk about a scary situation. My God. The Lord have mercy. Somebody else, go ahead.
Rectify helped me pull up this particular 69th session of the UN General Assembly called UNGA 69, UN General Assembly. So it just says basically that the 69th session of the UN General Assembly will convene at the UN headquarters, let's see. Well, this says Tuesday, the 16th of September. 2014. Then it says the general debate will open on Wednesday, the 24th of September. The debate's opening was postponed from Tuesday, which would be today, to accommodate the climate summit, a resolution and decision, and then it gives a few numbers. I could read those off. So anyway, I'm not, I was kind of multitasking, so what are we, you guys were talking about.
That's why all those protesters were there on Wall Street. It was for that climate summit.
I gotcha.
They were actually moving the fences pretty well. I was watching them a little bit live on TV, I admit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, that was theater. I mean, they had the mace. That was theater, but that looks like the big distraction. So somebody's got a playbook, and they're calling in plays. And, this is more along the lines Steve's thinking that they would set up the climate change flood Wall Street or whatever. I don't know exactly what the code word flood means, but
exactly the code. That's what I was going to get at. The code.
Well, let's bring Christianity into it, Steve. You said at the mall where this supposed terrorist soldier, these two guys disappeared, or three guys. Odin, right? That's NATO backwards. Odin, right? We got a triquetra. It's the symbol, the Christian symbol, the fish of Jesus. Supposedly, it's the Trinity knot. It's actually a Celtic symbol, and it stands for the god Odin. It predates Christianity big time. I just thought I'd throw that out there. I don't know if there's any, relevance with any of that. But,
right. Well, that particular symbol isn't showing up because the symbol I'm talking about is the symbol for NATO, which is the 4-pointed star, the blue star.
Right.
It's I believe it's meant to be a compass star, and that's the cardinal. The cardinal positions, north, south, east, and west, are what's represented there. Go look up whatever the heck the name of that mall was. You'll see it. You'll see it. And I thought that was very interesting. Oh, and another thing that was also associated with it is that there's a place nearby, because they showed you this street sign, and on the street sign, I forget what the name was specifically. But it was Born was on the big sign for like where the road was going, and Bourne, Bourne, like Jason Bourne, like the Bourne movies, as in super soldiers and covert missions. So isn't that interesting?
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, and we have a moment of silence here.
Well, yeah, for Syria.
Well, no, what I'm doing is I'm looking up what kind of moon we got right now, because and so here it is, September 2014, 22nd, 1% visible. So, and the 23rd is a new moon. So here it is. The world's being baptized in the darkness of the moon.
Well, they always do bombing campaigns during a new moon if they can also. That's pretty typical.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I guess that does give them darkness.
Right.
But then you talked about the vernal equinox. What is it, the fall?
Yeah, the autumn, fall equinox, yeah.
Right. They did that. They timed that. That's right about now, right, too?
Right now. You could probably stand a broom on end.
Actually,
I think that it might only be winter and summer.
Well, let's cook these chemicals up. I mean, do we have a Jewish
Yes,
holiday?
We do. Rosh Hashanah starts on Saturday.
Past Saturday or coming up?
Coming up.
That's a big one. Wow.
And why no attacks by ISIS on Israel? That's like their biggest enemy. Islam hates Israel. I mean, that's what we're programmed with, at least.
Well, weren't you saying that one of the leaders is a former Mossad? Didn't you say that, Justin? I mean, Jacker?
Yeah.
Right, Baghdadi or somebody. He's I don't know his proper name, but it's already been vetted, and the Iranian intelligence were the first one to give him away, but then a bunch of other people did checking, and it turns out that he is he's a major Mossad agent.
Well, I thought ISIS was actually code word used for many years for Israeli secret intelligence service.
Right, yeah, there's somebody brought that up. I saw that, a clip on the internet on that. So you got that. Also, you got the double meaning, Isis, which is goddess of Egypt, where it seems to be a lot of these guys came out of.
Well, yeah. The double play on that is that they're taking what is supposed to be known as a benevolent, my tongue is tied, entity, and having it associated with something that is very, very evil, and people are not going to be very ignorant of it. It also kind of makes these particular Muslims seem hypocritical to another Muslim who's sitting there saying, like, why would they name themselves after this pagan god? So that is another problem.
Well, that's why the next day they came out with ISIL. I swear, it was like one day.
It was always that they are using it interchangeably. There is actually a specifics. See, ISIL is the core organization, as in the leadership structure, the origin structure, the Levant, which is where the L comes from. That's headquartered up in Syria with those Syrian rebels I mentioned earlier. ISIS is the wing of ISIL that is the invading army into Iraq. But they are consistently in the news and in the White House administration amongst Congress. Sometimes they specifically say ISIS, and sometimes they say ISIL or ISIL. Sometimes they'll just spell it out instead of saying it pronounced as its acronym. And we have to figure out what specifically they mean. Why did they specifically choose to say ISIL here and ISIS here? They're using them interchangeably. They are making specific actions, passing specific legislations, making specific targets out of these things distinctly. They are making a distinction, even though they are supposed to be technically the same. We have to ask ourselves, why?
Well, here I got something else to throw into this vat of wicked, dark chemicals. Here we go. Here's the Satanist calendar. Okay, hang on, folks. I'm just going to read what they say. I'm not trying to be vulgar. All right, this is satanic calendar. Look it up yourself. Google it.
Bombs or whatever. Just like give us the point without actually saying it.
Right. So the 21st, some sort of midnight host celebration. And so it's actually a blood sacrifice, dismemberment, and hands removed for hands of glory. And it's some ritual where they remove some female, right, under 18, hands and bury them. Okay, the 22nd of September, which is, we just came off that. The date varies, but that's the fall equinox. It's a feast day. And so they celebrate it with orgies, oral, anal, vaginal, any age, male, female. Wow, hardcore. This is a big date.
Here, I'm bored.
What's that?
I'm making a horribly tasteless joke.
I did have something. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Just what you had brought up. Okay, so it's just something from Russia Today, and it's a small paragraph. It says no U.S. airstrikes in Syria without consent from Damascus, from President Putin. So Russian President Vladimir Putin and UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, or is it Ki-moon? Ban Ki-moon? Ban Ki-moon?
It's pronounced in the American press.
Ban Ki-moon?
Uh-huh.
Okay. In a telephone call, have exchanged views on the joint efforts of the international community to fight the Islamic State. The Kremlin reports the Russian side stressed that airstrikes on terrorist bases should not be carried out without the consent of the Syrian government. So that is what basically that was a sentence from the conversation that apparently took place between Putin and Ban Ki-moon.
Okay, so let's interpret it. I'm going to tell you right now that Putin got a hold of Ban Ki-moon, and he was yelling. He was enraged. And when he found out about the bombing, and I don't know exactly when, if you go to chat, freedomslips.com, they got the micro nuke that Ukraine claims that Russia used on that refinery.
Are you talking about the one that happened in the beginning of September? Or
No,
it just happened like today? Because I'm having
today.
trouble. I'm still having trouble finding it.
Here we go, guys. 20 minutes ago, breaking news update. Israeli military confirms Syrian warplane was shot down over the Golan Heights. So, yeah, Israel's saying that they're confirming they shot down a Syrian warplane over Israel. So it's on. It's on. Hijacker's absolutely right, I think.
And I think Putin was yelling at the top of his lungs, and I think he said to Ban Ki-moon, well, I'll tell you what, watch your news in the next 10 minutes and see what comes over the wire. And then I think he used a micro nuke, probably blew up his own damn refinery, just to make a point. Because we do know Bearcat bombers they tried to penetrate airspace in the last 24 hours. In fact, they've been doing that every other day, sending messages to the administration. You better stop this. You better stop it. And they keep doing the Bearcat bombers. So there's underlying stuff going on, but that's big about the Israelis shooting down a Syrian jet. Wow. Go ahead.
And the source for that was Reuters, so big name. It's not like a little hole-in-the-wall website blog or something.
Hey, who shot it down?
That was a bit of name etymology, because I've always been thinking to myself, why aren't I, we've had this Ban Ki-moon guy as head of like the global government for a while. So what is going on with his name in many respects? And so I'm just taking I'm trying to get like the moon. Okay, let's face it, that's easy. He's also South Korean, so that's also the moonies as well as the moon in the sky, if you will. But Ki, right? I haven't looked at Ban yet, but Ki, right? Well, Ki is also could be Chi, which is, Asian, which in Asian philosophy, spirituality, that's your energy, like the I Ching, so on and so forth. So check out these definitions of, noun, Ki, goddess personifying earth, counterpart of Akkadian Aruru, or Ki, the circulating life energy that in Chinese philosophy is thought to be inherent in all things. In traditional Chinese medicine, the balance of negative and positive forms in the body is believed to be essential for good health. That's from WorldNet 3.6. Century Dictionary Encyclopedia, Ki is, once again, these are all nouns, liliaceous plant, Cordylan terminalis, which is distributed through the Pacific Islands, the Malay Archipelago, and in China and the Hawaiian Islands. It also affords an intoxicating drink by fermentation. So there's your opiate of the masses, if you will. Natives regard the plant as sacred and place it around graves elsewhere in Polynesia. The name is tea instead of ki. And then last, Ki is an abbreviation of kings. So Ban Ki-moon is the current appointed king of the world, if you will.
Yeah, it's a very old family. In fact, a lot of people don't know, like back in the Moonies, back in the 80s, you had the Moonies, the Marian people, but Reverend Moon, he actually owned the Washington Post. He had stock, a good amount of money in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times. So it's a big, when you think of Moon, think of like an Asian, who's a big Jewish mogul, media mogul?
All of them?
What's that?
All of them? Well, I suppose Ted Turner's not Jewish, but...
No, not Ted Turner, the reptilian guy, the claw guy, he's always in trouble. Murdoch,
right.
Yeah,
I was going to say Murdoch.
Right. So he a lot of influence. That's one of the major families on the earth is the Moons. Big, real rich. So what else we got cooking with this operation? I mean, they've got a lot of stuff.
See, I'm looking at RT today. Also, I'm looking at, well, that's kind of redundant. Russia today. And I was just seeing what they're reporting, and I've got this one right here. U.S. and partners launch airstrikes on ISIS and targets in Syria, that is. And it says here, the U.S. this is coming from Russia today. The U.S. military and partner nations from the anti-ISIS coalition have launched the first attacks on Islamic State targets in Syria. The Pentagon has confirmed, and I believe there's always Twitter accounts, and I believe CENTCOM, CENTCOM, which is Central Command, they are confirming that it was ordered by the president. Airstrikes against Islamic State targets are currently underway in Syria, according to a Pentagon official. The strikes reportedly involve a mix of fighter, bomber, and Tomahawk land attack missiles. It says, I can confirm that U.S. military and partner nation forces are undertaking military action against ISIL, and then it says in parentheses, IS, terrorists in Syria using a mix of those particular items that I just mentioned, fighter, bomber, and Tomahawk land attack missiles. And that was coming from Pentagon Press Secretary Rear Admiral John Kirby. And then Central Command also said that. And right here it says, 20 locations have been targeted in and around Raqqa. Is that Raqqa? Is that Raqqa? And it says here that Tomahawk missiles have been fired from at least one ship in the Red Sea. The source also said that the Arab nations participating in the airstrikes will be dropping bombs. According to NBC News, the U.S. military is planning to attack, the 20 targets in Syria, including training sites, headquarters of Sunni fighters, and troop encampments. And let's see, I gave you the 5 nations. And again, I'll just repeat them. Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. And it says here, a U.S. official speaking to Reuters confirmed that the participation of Arab partners were in the attack, but refused to specify who those partners were. But obviously they have been identified, but not what they're doing exactly. Hijacker. So let's see. The attack follows President Obama's speech earlier this month, during which he said that the U.S. was prepared to conduct a systematic campaign of airstrikes against Islamic State terrorists wherever they are. And he says on September 10th, Obama said, that means I will not hesitate to take action against ISIL, or ISIS, or IS, in Syria, as well as Iraq. So basically, that's what's going on. And we have a huge bombing, a huge first, campaign on August 8th, I think. And then basically this is the biggest follow-up since then.
And that was all about supposedly Assad was using chemical weapons on his own soldiers, right?
Wow,
and that was debunked. I think Revolution Radio helped debunk that and postponed it to where we're at right now.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear Stephen Kelly in his program. I think he's got one tomorrow. He's got some contacts over there in Syria, and curious to see if he's going to be able to get any communique going with them.
And now, what a lot of people don't understand, when you're fighting this type of door-to-door warfare, so ISIS got their lines, they've got their buildings, they got like half a city or half a town, and then the Syrian army's got the other half and their snipers. And so you fight back and forth, you fire down the road, you try to pick somebody off, you try to make a little movement every day, you try to take an extra building or whatever. But with these bombs, if these bombs don't hit right, then you're talking about thousands of guys like roaches that are entrenched in all these cities and concrete buildings. When them bombs start to hit, those guys lose their mind. They said, I'm not being buried alive. They start scattering. So next thing you know is you can bomb behind ISIS, not hit them. But you can freak those guys out so bad that they just charge the Syrian lines. And so you could have mayhem right now in every place that we've decided to bomb, where in one building, one room, you got ISIS terrorist operatives and then Syrian soldiers. And everybody's just mixing up. I mean, it could go to hand-to-hand warfare, because the bombings just scare the hell out of everybody and make people act irrational. Whereas, if I'm going to die, I'm not going to die in this building. I'm going to run across the street, even if I got to run into the lines. There's so much smoke and everything else, nobody's going to see me. And so you just combine those armies where they were just normal lines of engagement for months, years, how they fought their battles. So now you have this X factor in there. And the other big factor, the Iranians have got to be freaking out tonight. They have got to say to themselves, look, we can't wait for them to do what they're doing to Syria in Iran. We've got to take our Islamic Republican Guard, the Iranian Republican Guard, throw everything into Syria, throw all our special forces, everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see the Iranians really reinforce the Syrians with pretty much everything they got, maybe even air power. I mean, this looks like a nightmare. This looks like, and then you got the Suez Canal. Putin could be so pissed off of what's happening in eastern Ukraine that he could take out the Suez Canal with an accident, sink a ship, and that bottles up the energy, the oil flow into Europe. Man, you got so many working parts. This is so complex. Go ahead.
I don't think that Putin is going to do anything that big, that far away from the Russian border, unless he is first getting himself more involved in a way that is publicly seen. Like, for instance, it's one thing if perhaps Putin, for some reason, had to do this oil refinery strike that Russia's been blamed on. At least that makes sense, because there's a clear and present risk to the Russian-Ukrainian border that is directly something that Putin has to be concerned about, versus something going on over here. No doubt he's involved with what's happening with Syria, because Syria is a client of Russian interests. They are trade friendly, and thus he has to protect his friends, protect his investments, if you will. But however, he also can't be doing too much direct antagonization, because we're not there yet where he can avoid certain things. There's a reason why he had to play the covert game the way that he had, and is still doing with this whole Ukraine problem, which is also going to be a problem with Estonia and other such places that have NATO affiliation. But
Steve, look, Putin can't play that game anymore. He came out tonight. He called the president of the UN micro-nukes, Steve, chemical weapons, chlorine weapons are going off. Now they got Ebola. All it would take is a couple of army rangers to fire off a couple of missiles and spray the Syrian army with Ebola. Ebola breaks out in Syria. My God.
I'm just saying that looking at how Putin has played the game so far, but I don't think he's going to do something like deal with what's going on with Egypt in a way that would be beneficial for his interests with what's going on in Syria, which would be extremely overt, without lesser levels of elevation of involvement. I don't think that he's going to get that involved right now, because if Putin really wanted to get this thing kick-started, he could have just straight up dealt with eastern Ukraine way back when when all of this nonsense started, at least after the Crimean annexation. But he didn't. He's still playing a particular game. He's not letting them screw around with him anymore. But at the same time, there's a certain level that he can't interfere with, not because he's necessarily playing some non-interventionist libertarian game, but just because of how his intelligence apparatus is advising him for protecting Russian interests. And
here's the wild card, Steve. This is the wild card. The wild card is Ebola. if the Russians decide to en masse take Kiev, and they could take Kiev in one day and one night if they wanted to, the Western back powers, they could spray his troops with Ebola. Putin can also use Ebola. The U.S. can use Ebola and spray the Syrian troops. Syria can put Ebola on their missiles and fire them. I mean, we've got...
Hey, Jacker, do you ever feel like you're giving the enemy ideas?
No.
It's Ebola, by the way. It's Ebola. I think you're kind of combining it with E. coli, so just so you know, it's Ebola. Just, I don't mean to, be a little ninny or anything, but
E.
yeah.
coli. You want to freak out mode? I'm going to tell you something. You want to get freaked out?
Okay. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay.
I'd have to believe you have a basis in reality for your statements in order for them to freak me out, Hijacker, but go on.
Okay, if I'm going to freak all the audience out, you'll never take a look at a shop. You'll never take a look at a shopping cart again, but when you go into the grocery store, a University of Colorado, one of these, a couple of them, because they couldn't believe it, they tested all the shopping carts. They did a sampling of thousands of shopping carts. 90% of shopping cart handles have E. coli. It's the fecal matter. So just for you all to realize that when you put your hand on that shopping cart, 90%, 9 out of 10, people aren't either wiping their butts good. I don't know what the deal is, but there's a freak out fact you can check out.
It is freaky. I live in I live in Tahoe here, and I will occasionally be at a casino or something like that, and I think about all the people that touch all those machines, and I'll be in the ladies' restroom and I'll watch somebody literally go to the bathroom and leave and not wash their hands, and my life passes before my eyes. I just cannot believe that people are still not washing their hands. It's like, oh my God. It's unbelievable. And then thinking about all the things that those people touch, oh God. And
she works behind the buffet. She's preparing your food.
Yeah, exactly. Right before she picks her nose, and picks her butt. Yeah, pretty much. I can't believe I just said that, but yeah, it's disgusting. Yeah.
E. coli is basically a bacteria that lives in your kind of in fair environment, if you will.
And it poops out aspartame.
Yeah, your fecal matter.
Is that fake sugar stuff that says sweetener on every gum that you buy out there, chewing gum? Aspartame is the waste, the fecal matter of E. coli. Go on, Steve.
Anyway, we really
derailed
the conversation. I mean, it's...
I apologize. I was just trying to tell you, because you were saying Ebola, and I just wanted to, since you're talking about it, I might as well just make sure that you're saying it, what you want to say.
Yeah, my fault.
No, not a fault. Just
ever since we've had the refrigeration and freezing process, in particular for places like grocery stores, because once we invented that and perfected it, we said, man, we should have this, in the grocery market. And now we can have more of this preserved food or whatever. We've had this exponential increase in the threat of E. coli. This has been going on for 100 years or so, and as you can tell, we're not having some horrible outbreak because because people these bacteria are either in too small of a content and potency to be causing a problem, or they're getting killed off by other things in your process, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much E. coli is on your hands. If your hands aren't, if the E. coli is not getting inside your body, then it will not be a problem. And odds are you may end up washing your hands or putting some sort of disinfectant on your hands or something, between now and when you're eating your finger food. Or wiping your butt.
How did we? I didn't mean to make us talk about E. coli.
Here's my point, but here's my deeper point, because Ebola is not a virus. Viruses don't exist. Viruses are like terrorists. They are an invention to sell you a product. They are just a concept in the mind, which are principally based on living in bad health conditions that is degrading your body's ability to be in a good state of health. Just like Sean David Morton keeps repeating, Ebola is basically scurvy on steroids, and it's a massive vitamin C deficiency. So look, man.
Well, now wait a minute, Steve. Wait a minute. Ebola, they wiped out 240 doctors and nurses in Sierra Leone. They have devastated their healthcare system.
Horrible infrastructure for waste disposal and for water treatment and for air condition and everything else. They don't have much, and they've got this massive population.
This Ebola is weaponized, Steve. It's just not some little because your immune system's down. This is the real McCoy, Steve. The proven fact.
What if they say it's on all the cash, and that's how they get rid of all the cash and implement the B system?
Oh, if that Ebola comes to the United States, it changes everything. We're so freaked out. In fact, they say Americans are the most awake on things like Ebola, zombie apocalypse. You can talk about bases on the moon. You can talk about JFK. You can talk about 9/11. Americans just glaze over. But once you talk about Ebola...
Do you really think that's a matter of being awake? Dude, look, there's a reason why The Walking Dead and zombie entertainment is an acceptable, normal form of pop culture that they're allowed to really, make big TV shows and movies about and have a celebration of on television during Halloween and so on and so forth. They want you to be sufficiently scared of everything that reminds you of it. And Ebola is something that reminds you of zombies because it's the only medical condition out there, which the person inflicted with it is in a similar state of suffering as somebody who is dying of a zombie infection before they actually die, and then the process brings them back to life to eat your brains.
Or a liver failure. Either one. You bleed out of every orifice.
At the longest time, Ebola has been a reference point for people that are writing their own canon for their zombie mythology. In fact, World War Z, I think they said specifically in the origin story for World War Z that it was some sort of hybridized, mutated version of Ebola that it was like maybe Ebola mixed with anthrax. I don't know. They mentioned a couple of common scary viruses, if you will, and threw it out there. And then, of course, the World Health Organization are supposed to be the heroes in the matter when you have to realize the World Health Organization is really the umbrella corporation and they're infecting us on purpose.
Well, we only got a couple minutes left. I want to make a prediction, and my predictions mostly come wrong. Praise God. But anyways, I'm going to say something's going to happen with the Suez Canal. Egypt only gets about 6% of their money in fees for the Suez Canal, but it delivers something like 30% of European oil. And it's a choke point. It's easy. It could be an accident. But I think that's what's going to really stop the whole world. And once that accident happens, that all the leaders come together and they work out some kind of deal to stop what's going on in Syria. Because if they don't stop it, folks, it's just going to descend down until,
The Suez Canal is going to be a problem for the West. It's not really going to be a problem for the East.
Right. That's why Putin would do it. Kneecap them. Now you need our oil or you're going to freeze.
Go ahead, Angela.
Now you can't get it.
Well, I just want to do. I saw a few more things in this article from Russia Today regarding the latest attack, in Syria. It's very interesting because they're saying, as I mentioned, per Hijackers leading me down that path, that there was a phone conversation between Putin and Ban Ki-moon, saying that airstrikes on terrorist targets in Syria should not be carried out with the consent of the Syrian government. So I guess they're not necessarily. I mean, they are bombing Syria per se, but they're actually trying to bomb terrorist camps and training sites, etc., in Syria. And what Putin is saying is that, that this shouldn't be happening unless the Syrian government says okay, unless Damascus' consent is there. So it's very interesting because, if you're inside of Syria, then your country's getting bombed, regardless of if it's an attack against the Syrian country or just particular Islamic encampments, training sites, control centers, etc., within the Syrian borders. So that's a very interesting. I don't know if I just made sense there, but basically, I just wanted to read this last little bit that because I was trying to make sense of it all. I was trying to figure out what they were saying. So last Tuesday, U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel confirmed that the U.S. Central Command has a plan to take targeted actions against ISIS safe havens in Syria, including striking infrastructure. The U.S. will also train and equip 5,000 members of the Syrian opposition to fight militants from IS. Or ISIS or ISIL. The so-called moderate opposition is seen by the U.S. as a legitimate power in Syria since the Assad government has long lost its legitimacy, according to U.S. officials. Now listen to this. More than 40 nations have said they will participate in the anti-Islamic State crusade, with more than 30 nations offering military support, according to Hagel. Now, the Syrian government was willing to cooperate in coordinating strikes on Islamic jihadists, which the country has been battling for over 3 years, but U.S. officials rejected any possibility of such cooperation. Any strikes on Syrian soil without Damascus's consent would be considered an act of aggression. Syria has warned. Washington should respect the sovereignty of Syria in its attempts to deal with the Islamic State. Russia has warned repeatedly. Moscow previously expressed concern that U.S. airstrikes may target not only the Islamic State, but also the government forces loyal to President Assad. And then, again, it talks about that telephone call where basically, the UN Secretary General and the Russian president agree that targets in Syria should not be carried out without the consent of the Syrian government. So it's if I'm the Syrian government and I've got a bunch of, Islamic, I'm not the Syrian government, but the Syrian government exists, and then you've got all these Islamic terrorist, groups inside the country. You're still getting bombed. So what now? I'm a little confused, but it's showing that, Putin is basically saying, hey, you guys shouldn't have had an airstrike here unless Damascus says it's okay. So
yeah, you can't go into your neighbor's house and start blowing everybody in the house away because the robber that just robbed your house ran in there.
Yeah, like a Syrian jet bombing an ISIS cell group, terror cell group in Detroit. Think about that. That's what it would be like. Wow, would we put up with that for 1 minute?
No.
Yeah, but I'm thinking they're going to use these bombs to take this black Islamic horde, and just like the Nazis or the Russians, they put troops behind the guys, and they go, if you don't go fight, if you don't rush those Germans, you don't rush those Russians, then we're going to kill you if you try to retreat. I think they're going to use these bombs to drive them out of all their homes and bum rush Syrian army, a horde of ISIS Islamic jihadists that got massive bombs, and their only hope is to overrun the Syrians. This just looks all bad. This just looks really bad. It really
does. I agree. A lot of people don't want us to, think it's the beginning of World War III, et cetera. Nobody wants to think it's the beginning of World War III, but it could be, And yeah, we've speculated on this type of thing for, years now on this particular station, but, it does look pretty close.
There's three men that aren't sleeping tonight, and that is Putin, Ahmadinejad, and Assad. And that is a given.
Oh yeah, no, they're on the phone right now. But Angela, no, Pope Francis, he's already said World War III has already begun. It's already active. It's just being done piecemeal. That quote unquote from Pope Francis. So the Pope himself, Pope Francis, has already said World War III has started. Go and Google it. Check the quote yourself.
Here's the thing with that statement, though. This is the same kind of attacking somebody that we've been seeing since the Korean War. It's at least the same kind of fighting we've seen since the post-Vietnam world, where this is This isn't army on army. This is just the continuation of the control mechanism. There hasn't been a reason to fight another country in a long time. Now, if we decide to go and bomb China or Russia or Iran or something, then that might actually trigger World War III. Right now, these countries are very wisely staying out of it and are not being targeted in any capacity at the moment. They're being instigated, but they're not taking the necessary bait.
Steve, Iran has Air Force in Iraq, and they've got the Republican.
To fight whatever they think ISIS is. It's not Iran fighting the United States. Iran is having its own separate conflict against ISIS that is not in a coalition with the United States, which is a weird situation. But right now, America and its Arab allies that they're talking about now, like Saudi Arabia or whatever, are not engaging Iran.
Saudi Arabia. Don't forget the 18 hijackers, everybody.
What hijackers?
Oh, on 9/11.
There were no hijackers on 9/11.
Oh, the Saudi Arabian ones.
What?
They're still alive like years after?
Well, sure. Nobody was on any planes.
See, now we're going no planes? Really?
There weren't any planes, jeez.
Of course, that's another frickin' show. There were planes, but there was a lot more levels of that detonation that day.
There were no planes. I
have a hard time believing that one. We'd have to go at that one, Steve.
Okay, so you're telling me you don't believe a damn thing the media says, but when the media shows you a plane on television, you believe it.
No, I've seen the nose out, footage, and that threw me off right there. So, I mean, I think maybe cruise missiles. I don't know. What are you saying? There was no aircraft whatsoever.
There weren't objects flying through the air.
Which, by the way, folks, we do got breaking news. Veterans Today actually shows from an aircraft that's going at the National Airport. It actually shows a cruise missile firing into the Pentagon. Go check it out yourself. They've got the smoking gun that a cruise missile hit the Pentagon. No ifs, ands, or buts. Incredible footage.
Yeah,
somebody with their cell phone took the pictures from an aircraft that was going to the Reagan National Airport. Go ahead.
It's called a Granite P-700. That's what hit the Pentagon.
Yeah, I thought I saw the vertical stabilizer on those crappy, 3 frames a second shots they gave us.
No, that's not the same thing. No, there's been, in the last 24 hours, you can actually see a missile that was filmed. Somebody was over the Pentagon, a plane was coming into Reagan National Airport. They were about to land. They were filming the Pentagon as they were flying over it, maybe 1,000 feet. And you can see this thing streak. It's a missile. You can see a missile streak right across the parking lots, right through. I mean, it's like 2 seconds they catch it. And wham! You see it slam right into the Pentagon. A smoking gun, a missile. Maybe that's heating everything up.
Okay, so what? A plane just exploded in the air from what is alleged footage of it being struck by a missile. And that is something that the TV doesn't want to say. Breaking news: explosion over Washington. That's something that they cannot deny happened. They can only redirect the story. Perhaps that's something that happened on 9/11 that they are releasing today.
No, this is somebody who's held their cell phone footage. This is not from cameras. This is a person in a plane, a jumbo jet that's filming the Pentagon that actually catches the missile for like 2 minutes as it streaks, 2 seconds as it streaks into the Pentagon. Somebody find that footage in freedomslips.com. It's out there now. It's all over the place.
You said Veterans Today.
I think it's Veterans Today. I'm not sure.
Well, we got like 30 seconds left. Let's get last words, Angela.
Just a pleasure to be here. Really glad to be able to discuss, what's going on in the world and be able to share ideas on this amazing Truth Network. And thanks to you guys for joining us tonight. That's basically what I have to say.
Hijacker, say your prediction again so it doesn't come true.
Yeah, we'll just pray that God delays judgment. That's all we're down to now is just delay. Just beg for mercy and ask God to delay judgment. That's all. Go ahead.
Steve.
Wisdom. Stop being scared. Relax. Don't get emotionally invested. You'll be fine.
Justin Time scares me, though. He's a fearmonger. Just kidding, buddy. We love you. Fight the good fight. Truth. Find the truth. Know the truth. Feel the truth. It comes from your heart. Look at everything multiple times. Listen to everything multiple times. Don't trust anything the first time. But yeah.
And get your coffin cam. That's terrible. What a terrible ending. No, in general, let's just, hope it doesn't really escalate to where we all think it's going to. And I did look at that Georgia Guidestone thing. Basically, there was a little place missing where they put that cube. It's actually a two-sided cube thing, so it's not really a cube, but it's two squares. Maybe it's a cube, and then it's just inserted in there. But the place was left there for something to be inserted.
Is it the only hole for an insert?
I'm not sure, but I know that I saw a picture of it before and after, tonight when I was looking at it, and indeed somebody did put the 2014 thing in. So it's very interesting, just weird stuff, and I want to know who did it. I want to know where the camera was. I want to know who went up there and put that in.
Somebody somewhere knows.
Yeah, or did they just zap it in? Okay.
It's been The Gray Zone with Miss Angela and myself, and Steve Travesty and the Hijacker. You can catch our archives at YouTube, The Gray Zone Radio, Gray with an A. Peace out. We'll see you next week.
Peace, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Hey folks, Captain Nighthawk here. Do you have a favorite host? Well, imagine if you will having all the broadcast shows from 2013 to listen to anytime you want. Awesome deal, huh? Anyway, so stop by Freedom Slips